The rain pounded against the stained glass windows of St. Mary's Cathedral in downtown Chicago. But inside, the air was thick with grief and unspoken accusations. Jagger Harlan stood at the foot of his stepbrother Jamie's open casket, his broad shoulders shaking not from sobs, but from a low, bitter chuckle that escaped his lips like a venomous whisper. The mourners gasped, their eyes darting between the polished mahogany box and the man who dared to mock the dead. But Jagger couldn't stop. The irony of it all, Jamie's flamboyant life reduced to this somber spectacle, felt like the punchline to a cruel joke only he understood. He straightened his tie, wiping a tear that wasn't from sorrow but from the absurdity of the situation. Jamie, the one who'd always paraded his lifestyle like a badge of honor, now lay silent, his face unnaturally serene under the mortician's makeup. Jagger had never hidden his disdain. From the day their parents married when they were teens, he'd seen Jamie's openness as a weakness, a family embarrassment that tainted their conservative Midwestern roots transplanted to the city's liberal sprawl. As the priest droned on about eternal peace, Jagger's mind flashed back to their last argument, just months ago in the family brownstone on Lincoln Park. Jamie had come out officially at 18, but Jagger, 5 years older and already climbing the corporate ladder at a prestigious law firm, had dismissed it with a smirk. "You're just seeking attention. Bro, real men don't need to broadcast their bedroom choices." Jamie's eyes had filled with hurt, but he'd fired back. "And what about you, Jagger? Always the perfect son, hiding behind your suits and your silence. One day, your mask will crack." The service ended, and the crowd filed out into the stormy afternoon, umbrellas blooming like black flowers. Jagger lingered, his fiancée Elena tugging at his arm. "That laugh, Jagger. What were you thinking?" she whispered, her voice laced with concern. He shrugged it off. "Just nerves. Jamie always knew how to push my buttons, even in death." But as they drove home through the slick streets, a nagging unease settled in his chest. Jamie's death from a sudden aneurysm at 28 had been a shock, but the real blow came later that evening when the family lawyer arrived with the will. Seated in the dimly lit living room, surrounded by faded photos of blended family holidays, Mr. Hargrove cleared his throat. Jamie left specific instructions. "Most assets go to charity, but for you, Jagger, there's this." He handed over a sealed envelope, marked in Jamie's neat handwriting. "For my brother, who thinks he knows everything." Jagger's hands trembled slightly as he tore it open, expecting some final jab. Instead, it was a letter, pages filled with Jamie's looping script, and attached was a small USB drive. "Dear Jagger," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone, and maybe now you'll listen. You laughed at me, judged me, but I saw through you. Remember that summer in Michigan when we were kids? You weren't just protective. You were jealous of my freedom. I've kept your secret safe, but it's time you faced it. Plug in the drive. It's proof, from your own words." Jagger's face paled. Elena watched him, her brow furrowed. "What is it?" He shoved the letter into his pocket. "Nothing. Just Jamie being dramatic, as usual." But alone in his study that night, with the city lights flickering outside, he inserted the USB into his laptop. Files popped up. Old emails, photos, even voice memos from years ago. One caught his eye. A recording dated back to college, his own voice slurring from too much beer. "I don't know, man. Sometimes I look at guys and forget it. It's nothing." Jamie's voice responded, gentle. "It's okay, Jagger. You can tell me." The revelation hit like a freight train. Jamie had known. All those years of Jagger's homophobic barbs, his insistence on traditional values, had been a shield. Jagger slammed the laptop shut, his heart racing. How had Jamie collected this? And why reveal it now, from beyond the grave? The next morning, he called in sick to work, pacing the apartment. Elena pressed for answers, but he brushed her off. "Family stuff. It'll pass." But it didn't. Whispers from the funeral spread through their social circle. Jagger's inappropriate laughter became fodder for gossip at cocktail parties. "Did you hear?" He chuckled at his own brother's casket. "What kind of monster does that?" Friends distanced themselves, and at the firm, partners eyed him warily. Chicago's elite legal world was progressive on paper, but old prejudices lingered. Jagger buried himself in cases, defending corporate clients against discrimination suits with ironic fervor. One evening, as he reviewed depositions, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Jamie wasn't the only one with secrets. Check your email. Attached was a scanned newspaper clipping from their hometown in Ohio, yellowed with age. A story about a high school scandal involving anonymous same-sex encounters in the locker rooms. No names, but the date matched Jagger's senior year. Panic surged. Was this Jamie's doing, a timed release? He confronted their stepmother, Margaret, over coffee in a quiet cafe near Grant Park. Did Jamie say anything to you before he died? She sipped her latte, her eyes weary. He loved you, Jagger, despite everything. But he worried you'd never be happy living a lie. The words stung. Margaret had always favored Jamie's honesty over Jagger's stoicism. Society's changing, she added. But in our family, secrets fester. Jagger left the cafe more conflicted than ever. That night, dreams plagued him. Jamie's laugh echoing in reverse, morphing into his own. He woke sweating, Elena asleep beside him. For the first time, he questioned their engagement. She was perfect on paper. Beautiful, ambitious, from a good family. But their intimacy felt performative, a role he'd mastered. As weeks turned to months, the USB's contents haunted him. Photos of Jagger at college parties, his arm around male friends a little too tightly. Emails to Jamie confessing fleeting attractions, then retracting them with anger. Jamie had archived it all, not out of malice, but as a safeguard. In the letter, he'd written, "I forgive you for the hate. Use this to free yourself." The pressure built. At a family gathering for Jamie's birthday memorial, tensions boiled. Their father, Robert, a retired engineer with rigid views, raised a toast. To Jamie, who lived life his way, even if it wasn't mine. Jagger bit his tongue, but his cousin Sarah pulled him aside. "You okay? You seem off since the funeral." He snapped, "Mind your own business." But inside, the dam was cracking. The autumn leaves crunched under Jagger's feet as he jogged through Lincoln Park, trying to outrun the ghosts in his head. It had been 3 months since Jamie's funeral, and the city felt smaller, suffocating. Every billboard promoting pride events, every couple holding hands, regardless of gender, reminded him of what he'd suppressed. Elena noticed the distance growing between them. "Talk to me, Jagger. Is it work? The loss?" He'd nod vaguely, but the truth clawed at him. He was attracted to men, had been since adolescence, and Jamie had known it all along. One crisp October morning, Jagger received a package at the office. No return address, just a Chicago postmark. Inside was a leather-bound journal, Jamie's from his final year. Pages filled with entries about their fractured brotherhood. "Jagger called me a freak again today, but I see the fear in his eyes. He's projecting his own confusion onto me." Flipping further, Jagger found an entry dated a week before Jamie's death. "I've set things in motion. If I go suddenly, the truth will out. Not to hurt him, but to save him from a life of regret." The journal shook him to his core. Jamie hadn't just collected evidence. He'd anticipated his own end, perhaps sensing health issues he never shared. Jagger skipped lunch, retreating to a nearby bar instead. Nursing a whiskey, he scrolled through old texts with Jamie. Amid the arguments were moments of vulnerability. Jamie offering advice on relationships, Jagger confiding work stresses. "You're my brother," Jamie had texted once. "Blood or not, I got your back." That evening, Elena confronted him in their sleek condo overlooking Lake Michigan. "I found the letter, Jagger. And the drive. What does it mean?" Her voice trembled, a mix of hurt and confusion. He sank onto the couch, head in hands. "It's complicated." Jamie thought I was like him. She knelt beside him. "Are you?" The question hung in the air like smoke. For the first time, Jagger whispered, "I don't know. Maybe." Their conversation stretched into the night, Elena listening without judgment at first. But as details emerged, suppressed crushes, avoided truths, her patience frayed. You've been lying to me, to everyone. How can we build a future on that? Tears streamed down her face. Jagger reached for her, but she pulled away. I need time, she said, grabbing her coat and leaving for her sister's place. Alone, Jagger pored over the journal again. An entry detailed a family vacation in the Rockies, where teenage Jagger had stared too long at a handsome ski instructor. Jamie had noticed, teasing gently later, "It's okay to like who you like." Jagger had punched him in the arm, calling him names to deflect. The memory burned now, shame twisting into regret. The next day, at the firm, a high-profile case landed on his desk, defending a company accused of firing an employee for being gay. Irony mocked him as he prepared arguments. During a meeting, his partner quipped, "These diversity lawsuits are getting out of hand. Back in my day, people kept personal lives personal." Jagger's jaw clenched. "Maybe that's the problem," he muttered. Heads turned. "Excuse me?" He backpedaled, but the seed of dissent was planted. Social conflicts escalated. At a networking event in the Loop, an old college buddy, now openly gay, approached. "Heard about Jamie. Sorry, man. He was a good guy." Jagger nodded stiffly. "Yeah, he was himself." The friend eyed him. "You know, if you ever need to talk." Jagger laughed it off, but the offer lingered. Meanwhile, anonymous emails trickled in, excerpts from Jamie's journal, sent to family and friends. Who did this? Jagger demanded in a heated call with Margaret. Jamie arranged it with a trusted friend, she admitted. He wanted the family to heal, even if it meant exposing wounds. Robert, overhearing, exploded. "This is nonsense." Jamie's stirring trouble from the grave, but doubt crept into his voice. Jagger sought solace in therapy, a discreet office in Wrigleyville. The counselor, Dr. Ellis, listened patiently. "Your laughter at the funeral, was it grief or deflection?" Jagger admitted, "Both. I hated him for being free, because I couldn't be." Sessions peeled back layers. A conservative upbringing where manliness meant suppression, societal pressures in law where image was everything. As winter approached, Elena returned, but their relationship strained. "I love you, Jagger, but I deserve honesty." They attended couples counseling where Jagger shared more. One night, after a session, he confessed a college fling with a roommate, brief, buried deep. Elena's face hardened. "You proposed knowing this?" He nodded, ashamed. "I thought I could outrun it." The turning point came at Thanksgiving. The family gathered in the brownstone, tension thick as gravy. Robert grumbled about modern agendas. Sarah defended LGBTQ rights. Jagger, fueled by wine and weariness, interjected, "Dad, Jamie wasn't the problem. We were, for not accepting him." Silence fell. Margaret squeezed his hand. "And what about you, son?" The question echoed Jamie's letter. Jagger hesitated, then spoke. "I'm questioning." Jamie knew, and he tried to help. Robert's face reddened. "What are you saying? You're not..." Jagger cut him off. "I might be, and if I am, it's not a choice. It's who I am." The table erupted. Accusations of betrayal, tears from Margaret, Sarah's supportive nods. Elena watched, her expression unreadable. That night, as snow blanketed the city, Jagger walked alone along the lakefront. The cold bit, but clarity emerged. Jamie's revenge was a gift, forcing confrontation. Yet, doubts lingered. Was he truly gay or bisexual? And could his world adapt? Christmas lights twinkled across Michigan Avenue, but Jagger felt like a shadow amid the festive glow. For months post-funeral, his life unraveled thread by thread. The anonymous leaks from Jamie's journal had gone viral in their social circles. Excerpts posted on private Facebook groups, whispers turning to outright debates. Jagger Harlan, the hypocrite. One comment read. At the firm, clients murmured reservations. A promotion he'd eyed slipped away. He threw himself into pro bono work, ironically taking on LGBTQ discrimination cases. In court, arguing for equality felt like atonement. One client, a young man fired for his orientation, reminded him of Jamie. Vibrant, unapologetic. "Thanks for fighting," the client said after a win. Jagger smiled faintly. "It's personal." Home life fractured further. Elena moved out temporarily, citing the need for space. "I can't marry someone still figuring themselves out." Her words echoed in the empty condo, where Jagger now slept on the couch, surrounded by Jamie's mementos. A pride flag pin, books on self-acceptance. He read them voraciously, pages dog-eared with revelations. A surprise visit from Robert shook him. The old man stood in the doorway, coat dusted with snow. "We need to talk." Over coffee, Robert's gruff demeanor cracked. "Your mother, Margaret, made me read Jamie's journal. I didn't know. About you." Jagger braced. "And," Robert sighed, "I raised you boys to be strong. But maybe I confused strength with hiding. It wasn't acceptance, but a crack in the armor." Societal backlash intensified. At a charity gala, a conservative donor cornered him. "Heard the rumors. Your brother's influence rubbing off." Jagger's temper flared. "My brother was brave, unlike some who judge from afar." The exchange made headlines in local blogs. Lawyers' outburst sparks debate on family secrets. Friends divided. Some distanced, others rallied. His college buddy, Mark, invited him to a support group in Boys Town. Reluctant, Jagger attended. Stories of coming out mirrored his own: fear, denial, eventual peace. One man shared, "Losing family hurt, but living authentically saved me." Jagger left with a number. Ethan, a quiet architect who'd navigated similar waters. They met for coffee, Ethan's easy smile disarming. Jamie's story sounds tragic, but powerful. As they talked, Jagger felt a spark. Not just attraction, but connection. Ethan's hand brushed his accidentally. Jagger didn't pull away. Guilt surged. Elena still lingered in his heart. The high drama peaked at New Year's Eve. Elena returned for a talk, fireworks booming outside. "I've thought about us. If you're gay, I can't be your cover." Tears flowed. "I'm not sure," Jagger admitted, "but I loved Jamie's courage. I need to find mine." They parted amicably, a hug laced with finality. Alone, Jagger reflected on Jamie's letter. "Society will judge, but your truth is worth the fight." He drafted an email to the family, coming out tentatively. But before sending, another leak hit. A voice memo from the USB, his drunken confession, audio blasted on a podcast about family betrayals. Outrage ensued. Calls from reporters, threats from bigots. Panicked, Jagger called Mark. "This is Jamie's doing posthumous bombshells." Mark chuckled sadly. "Or his way of pushing you forward." The podcast sparked national debate. Is outing someone after death ethical? Social media buzzed with opinions, from support to condemnation. In therapy, Dr. Ellis probed, "Your laughter at the casket, was it at Jamie or yourself?" Jagger nodded. "Myself, for envying his freedom." Sessions delved deeper. Childhood crushes dismissed as phases, societal norms enforcing heterosexuality. As spring thawed the city, Jagger explored dating apps cautiously. A date with Ethan bloomed into dinners, walks along the river. "You're not alone," Ethan said one evening, their fingers intertwining. But doubts crept. Was this rebound or real? Family reconciliation faltered. Robert attended a PFLAG meeting with Margaret, awkward but earnest. "For Jamie," he grumbled. Sarah hosted a dinner, where Jagger brought Ethan as a friend. Tensions simmered, Robert's questions probing, Margaret's eyes hopeful. A climactic confrontation arose when a former colleague sued the firm for discrimination, naming Jagger as a witness. In deposition, he testified truthfully, "I've seen prejudice firsthand, in my family, in myself." The case settled, but his reputation shifted from rising star to activist. Through it all, Jamie's presence loomed. Jagger visited the grave, laying flowers. "You win, bro. I'm trying." Wind whispered as if in reply. Summer sun baked the Chicago streets, mirroring the heat of Jagger's internal turmoil. 6 months after the funeral, His coming-out email had sent shockwaves. Responses varied. Margaret's embrace, Robert's gruff nod, Sarah's cheers. But extended family shunned him, invitations drying up. At work, allies emerged, but skeptics whispered about agenda pushing. Ethan became a steady presence, their relationship evolving from coffee to shared weekends. "This feels right," Ethan said during a picnic in Millennium Park. Music from a nearby concert drifting over. Jagger agreed, but guilt over Elena lingered. She'd started dating someone new, their paths crossing awkwardly at mutual events. Societal conflicts amplified. A local news segment featured Jagger's story anonymously, from mockery to self-discovery. Comments flooded. Supportive messages mixed with hate mail. One letter read, "You're dishonoring your brother's memory by copying his sin." Jagger crumpled it, but the words stung. He channeled energy into advocacy, volunteering at LGBTQ centers. Mentoring youth, he saw Jamie in their eyes, defiant, hopeful. One teen confided, "My family's like yours was." Jagger advised, "Truth hurts, but lies destroy." Family therapy sessions began, Robert reluctant at first. "I don't get it," he admitted. "But I lost one son. Don't want to lose another." Tears flowed as old wounds surfaced. Robert's own repressed upbringing, Margaret's regrets over not intervening sooner. A major twist came via Jamie's friend, Lucas, who revealed himself as the leaker. Over lunch in a Wicker Park cafe, Lucas explained, "Jamie trusted me with the timed releases. He said, if Jagger won't come out, force his hand for his sake." Anger flared in Jagger. "That was cruel." Lucas shrugged. "Or compassionate. Look at you now, free." The revelation sparked ethical debates in Jagger's circle. Was Jamie's posthumous intervention justified? Friends argued. Some called it manipulative, others liberating. Jagger wrestled, ultimately grateful. Romantic tensions peaked when Ethan proposed moving in. "I'm ready if you are." Jagger hesitated. Flashbacks to suppressed desires clashing with newfound openness. They argued. "You're holding back," Ethan accused. "Because of fear?" Jagger nodded. "Society's not as accepting as ads claim." Indeed, a workplace incident proved it. A client withdrew, citing personal values mismatch. The firm backed Jagger, but the loss stung. Protests outside the office, anti-gay signs reminded him of ongoing battles. On Jamie's death anniversary, the family gathered at the cemetery. Robert placed a stone, murmuring apologies. Jagger spoke, "Jamie taught us all. His revenge was love." Emotions ran high, hugs mending fractures. But closure eluded. A final leak, Jamie's video will, recorded secretly. In it, he smiled, "Jagger, if you're watching, know I laugh too. At our absurd family. Be you." The video went public, virality ensuring endless discourse. Jagger's life stabilized. Relationship with Ethan deepened. Career pivoted to civil rights law. Yet, questions persisted. Had Jamie overstepped? Fall returned to Chicago, leaves swirling like unresolved thoughts. 8 months on, Jagger had rebuilt. A new apartment with Ethan, a specialized practice defending LGBTQ rights. Social circles expanded, old prejudices fading. But Jamie's shadow lingered, a catalyst for change. One evening, reviewing case files, Jagger stumbled on a parallel. A client whose sibling had outed them posthumously. "It ruined me at first," the client said, "but saved me." Echoes of his own journey. Family bonds strengthened. Robert joined Pride walks, awkward but proud. Margaret wrote letters of reconciliation. At a dinner, Robert toasted, "To truths, however hard." Romantically, Jagger and Ethan navigated challenges. Jealousy over pasts, societal stares. But love grew, authentic and deep. Jamie's gift, Ethan mused. The story's crux, Jamie's actions, debated widely. Jagger pondered in quiet moments. Manipulation or mercy? As winter neared, Jagger stood at the window, city lights below. He'd laughed at death to hide pain. Now he embraced life. Was Jamie's revelation an act of brotherly love or a violation of trust?